The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Thursday, 21st of May.
The FujiCast.
Welcome to the FujiCast. Once weekly, now daily, but only until the 31st of May, because after that we're going back to the weekly show, aren't we, Kev?
Indeed, we're going on holiday.
Well, I don't know. Where do you think you're going on holiday? You're not allowed to travel anywhere.
I'm going to go to the end of my garden.
Oh, that'd be nice. Well, if you could choose one place to go on holiday right now, where would that be then?
Well, I'd love to go back to Spain, obviously, but somewhere I would quite happily be very remote.
Very remote?
Out to Hebridean Islands
yes.
Something like that.
That writer who's married to the musician Amanda Palmer got in a lot of trouble for travelling to Skye, didn't he? Because he was living with her in and his child, I think, was it New Zealand? I think it was New Zealand.
It's either New Zealand or Australia, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was New Zealand. Travelled all the way back to Skye and then publicised the fact that he'd made that huge, long journey.
Well, yeah, he did, and yes, he was probably wrong to do so. However, it has to be said, he is a Scottish resident, I believe. He pays taxes there, he's on the electoral roll and everything. So I think there was a kind of grey area, a bit of confusion, really.
Yeah, I suppose it was a travelling thing, really. He travelled at a time you shouldn't travel. I think there's no grey area about that at all, though, was there?
No, that's very true. That's very true. Although, they said at the beginning, make sure you go home to your home countries, get there however you can. Yeah. And I mean, this is a little bit grandiose, I suppose, but at the end of the day, he does have his right to be there as anybody else, I guess.
So yes, we're now sort of on that run up to the 31st of May. We've been doing the dailies now this will be the 64th episode, 64th in a row of the dailies, and 121st episode overall. I noticed yesterday we've racked up 330,000 downloads.
Whoa!
You might have to change that figure on the front of the Facebook group page, and it's been wonderful, really, answering questions. Hundreds of questions and talking to you as a listener and understanding what you have been going through. So thank you for being a part of it. I feel like I'm going to go into a James Taylor song. But there was, now on that note, by the way, before we get started, I had a DM from Jake Marshall. I heard Kev getting a bit frustrated with somebody for leaving less than favourable reviews regularly. So this would have been on yesterday's show. Please remind Kev of some super words from Sean Tucker. You'll never find a talented troll. It was on your podcast, don't you know? Be happy in the knowledge that good, bad or indifferent, the rating system is designed to give levels of engagement. I told you this, Kev. Levels of engagement. And so there's no such rating as a bad rating. Even the YouTube one, now I didn't know this, is designed as thus. Although I personally think thumbs down is a negative message for users. I've always thought that as well, actually. I don't like that thumbs down thing on YouTube.
Oh, I hate it.
As Jake says, if you have nothing nice to say in life, say nothing at all. Unless you are a professional critic, which you don't need me to finish that sentence. Keep your pecker up, Kev, especially at your age.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. I mean, I've had my fair share of it, all the time. It just makes me mad.
I know it does.
Makes me want to call him a complete and utter...
Hi, Kev and Neale. Very excited to... this is from Simon Jones. Very excited to see Kev has released some new monochrome presets. I've been using your colour preset for Fuji RAW file editing, one on the F16 Click website, for a while now. Do you have any plans to develop and even release other colour presets? This might sound like a huge advert. It's not supposed to. It's a real question from Simon. P.S. Looking forward to joining you in the street photography workshop. Fingers crossed in October.
So hopefully the one in October will happen.
Yeah.
Possibly. It took a long time to get those ones done. So, it's on my new long list. Essentially.
How long is that long list?
It's quite long. Oh. The thing about doing something like that, any project of substance, I think, is that it's very easy to just rush and push them out there and kind of just hope for the best. But I think, it's important to do those kind of things right. Yeah. Whether it's selling presets or putting on a workshop or doing an online webinar, I've seen some absolute tosh being thrown my way in terms of Zoom webinars and things like that. And, the ones that are being promoted, are being paid for. And I just think, actually, you know what? We're all in a bit of a struggle, fine, but just do it properly. Still do it properly.
Did you get that one, by the way, that was build your... I don't know why I'm asking you personally, but I'm wondering if you got the one that was build your... What was it? Build yourself 100,000 new followers on Instagram within a week. Did you get that webinar one or Zoom thing or whatever it was?
It rings a bell.
Yeah.
I have a very special finger on my hand that I use to delete those emails, though.
Do you? Okay. All right, moving on. Tim Morrison. Hey, Neale. Hi, Kev. Thanks for all the hard work and the COVID-19 fun, if that's not too difficult to have that word in the same sentence. I've really enjoyed your friendly banter over the past months. I've recently bought an XT3, upgrading from the XT1. I've noticed that the various tweaks I've set to highlights and shadow and colour don't seem to be applied to the JPEG to the same extent or strength as the live view feed. So, long made short, what I see through the viewfinder is way more punchy than the actual JPEG. I have live view to match exposure and white balance. Also, the natural live view, or whatever it's called, is turned off. It's not a big deal, just irritating. On my XT1, what I see through the viewfinder is pretty much what I get on the card. Any thoughts?
Okay, so assuming that all of those parameters are set to correct, as you mentioned, and assuming that you don't have things like brightness of the LCD or EVF pushed up, then it should be fairly accurate. However, what I would say is the difference between the XT1 and the XT3 is not just the sensor, but on the LCD itself and the EVF. So the EVF is brighter, is punchier, it's easier to to build your pictures that way, and it's backlit and all of that stuff. So you're probably never going to get exactly the same on a screen monitor, and also depends on the screen monitor. I mean, if you're using one of those fancy Apple ones that are reflective and all that kind of stuff, all you're going to see is yourself. But if you're...
Oh, what a nice view it is, Tim.
If you're using a high-end ISO or BenQ monitor that's matted and it's profiled, calibrated, I should say, then you're going to have... It's going to be more muted because they're showing you based on what they would expect a print to be like. So there's that kind of stuff thrown in the mix as well. But yeah, I mean, you probably won't get identical out of the EVF on your computer just because of those other parameters that are thrown in.
He had something he'd unfortunately had an accident with the camera. Check this, Kev. Tim says, I recently had... Oh, yeah, also, for all of you who have seen the Fujifilm X cameras held under taps to show the water resistance, beware. I recently had an accident with my XT3 in my bag involving a bottle of water. Uh-oh. I noticed water dripping out the bottom of my camera bag. I looked inside to find my camera swimming in a puddle. Water had made its way into my battery compartment, buttons, shutter button, viewfinder, and card slot. Few weeks in rice to suck out all the moisture, and the buttons all work again, and the viewfinder doesn't steam up. Although the camera settings seem to be working okay, something is draining the battery over 12 hours when left in the camera. Bit of a what's it? Well, I suppose something's going to happen when you have that much water in the camera, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be. Well, I guess so, yeah. Although I dropped my X100, my X100T, I think it was.
Yeah.
No, it was X100S, I think, into the bottom of a swimming pool.
No way, did you?
Yeah, that still works.
Did you use the rice trick?
No, I just jumped in and grabbed it.
And carried on working with it.
Got the camera out and then jumped in and saved Albie.
You got the camera first and Albie, Kev.
I think that's why they use the terminology weather sealed rather than waterproof. I don't think you'll ever see a camera, monikered as waterproof. I think weatherproof, weather sealed is a very different analogy.
Well, apart from those great Fuji, what are the Fine Pix ones? The sort of bright lurid green or bronze coloured ones. They're great. Have you taken those in the swimming pool?
Yeah, I don't have any of those, but I remember those. Those are the ones you buy at the airport, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. We got a couple. They're still brilliant,
Yeah.
Christopher James in Australia. Have you ever been there, Kev?
Shut up.
Dear Neale and Kev, just finished listening to your show on my drive into the hospital. I think that's where he works rather than where he's ended up because of something happening. Thank you so much for the dailies. They thoroughly brighten the travel in these dark times. 2 questions, please, one for each of you. Websites. Do you have a checklist on things you test, like page speed, as you mentioned? So this is going back to the website edition last week. And tools you use before you go live that you could share, please. I know that we should write for people, not for Google. You've said that, Kev. But do you check SEO in any way? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think, there's tools such as the Moz toolkit, MOZ, very expensive.
Yeah,
but,
I was going to say it's pricey.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
But, honestly, these days there is so much content, so much stuff that's going out there. I find that if you use those tools, you just end up over-optimizing. And when you over-optimize, that's the worst thing you can do. It's almost better to do no optimization, because an over-optimized site in Google's eyes is just seen as a totally red flag.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, I'm in the process of redoing all my stuff right now, and I'm deleting a load of old content, and I'm re-editing the posts, because I just realised actually it's stuff from like 3 or 4 years ago.
It's not relevant.
It's not that it's not relevant. It's just that the content is clearly over-optimized.
Right. Oh, right.
Just over-optimized, and so I'm just getting rid of it all and just redoing it. Yeah.
Is Rosa murdering Albie in the background?
Yes, I'm going to just go and kill them both now. Just bear with me one second.
I just heard. I thought I heard the pained tones of Albie as Rosa was running after him. You can't quite hear Kevin telling them off, but listen carefully. Oh, that's a serious slamming of a door.
Right. Yeah. To give her a little bit of credit today, because her beloved guinea pig.
Oh, terrible news.
Waddled off this mortal coil last night.
Yeah, it was Marshmallow that died, wasn't it?
Marshmallow, yeah.
Oh, no.
He didn't be very well for a few days.
No. Oh, you didn't have the same situation that I had when I found Toffee was dead, did you?
No, we knew he was going... And,
poking and prodding Marshmallow and thinking, Marshmallow's not moving very quickly today.
No, Rosa last night said, tomorrow, Daddy, I'm just going to take some pictures of Marshmallow, because I don't think he'd be around too long.
Oh, no.
And Gemma said, well, I think it might be a bit too late, because at that point he was lying on his side and having seizures.
Oh, no. Oh. So she didn't get the last pictures of Marshmallow then?
He went, no, we didn't want to take pictures of him like that.
No.
And then we've got the other one, and the other one, I don't really know what to do with him, because...
Well, they're all right. They can live on their own, They don't have to have a partner.
They don't like it, do they? We've at the moment, we've just put in a little... we've folded up a small tea towel and made it padded, just to, make him think that's another guinea pig.
What's the other one's name?
Chubby Cheeks.
Chubby Cheeks, that's right. Oh, poor Chubby Cheeks.
Yeah.
We could get another. Could you not get another one?
Don't even mention it. No.
I might. I've got Rosa's number. Let me just text her. Daddy says Marshmallow Part 2 is ordered. No, I wouldn't send that. No, it's a very difficult decision, isn't it? She wants a what? Sorry.
A horse.
That's never going to fit in the hutch.
I know. Definitely. No. We're changing into a horse.
Anyway, where were we? We were still with Chris, weren't we? With Chris James. So you said, don't over-optimize.
Yeah, don't over-optimize, and I would, just honestly, just do it yourself. Do it. That's my advice these days. Do it yourself. Do it naturally. Clearly, you want your titles to be something a little bit catchy. Think about how you search. What do you do when you search things these days? More than likely, you ask questions.
Yeah.
It's think about search in terms of voice and all that stuff. If you have a long list of keywords, I'm reticent to say things like Yoast. SEO plugin.
I was just about to say the Y word. Why not? Why not Yoast?
Well, no, absolutely. It's not a bad thing at all. It's a very good thing. However, if you have 25 blog posts and pages and they all have the little green tick, then that's a flag. That's an indication to Google that actually you're doing this to try and get yourself up in the rankings rather than doing it to give good content to users, which I know sounds very peculiar.
It does. Although those hours that I've spent there, Kev, trying to get all those little buttons to go green, and when they do get there, there's a small yay inside, and you're telling me that I should have left some orange.
Think about it from, no, I'm not saying that so much, but think about it from Google's point of view. Somebody types into Google, where can I buy apples from? And there's 3 or 4 pages turn up. One of them is optimized within an inch of its life, has all the little green ticks and tocks and all that kind of stuff. But actually, they don't sell apples. What they do is they sell cider or something like that. And the ones that do actually sell apples are being a little bit more organic with their content, but they're a little bit further down the page. Yeah. So that annoys Google. Google doesn't want that. Google wants the real ones that really sell apples to be at the top of the page. And it knows now. So it's clever enough to look at all of those, the plugins you use and all of that kind of stuff to actually identify and separate out the ones that are actually answering a question based on the search and ones that are just kind of hoping for the best and throwing as much mud at the wall as possible to see how much sticks.
Is it true? I know this isn't the website special today, but we did sort of have a hangover from it. We're going to be sort of running through some of the questions that we were left with. But I'd like to know, should your website now be a sort of multimedia experience in terms of Google enjoying seeing some YouTube film interaction, maybe some voice, obviously the pictures, text? Should it be a much more rounded sort of multimedia experience now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, all you have to do is think about how people consume content these days. Think about the high-end websites that you go to, the BBC maybe, could be Facebook, could whatever. But all of those are what they would call, engaging websites. So yeah, definitely multimedia. That usually manifests itself as slideshows on photography websites, but certainly make it a little bit more interesting. You'd be amazed how many websites just look like corporate lawyer pages.
Yeah. You told me off for that with a website I've got. I remember you telling me. I still think it looks a bit corporate. I'm doing my best, Kev. There was one for me here as well. Neale, I really want to find the jingles annoying, but I actually love them, especially the new outro jingle. Makes me smile every time. Where did it come from? We've been asked that a couple of times now. It actually came from Dallas. It's quite an old jingly, but I think that one might actually be late 70s, early 80s. It's sort of one of those golden oldie ones. But I suppose it's a bit like Intel, isn't it? The sound logo, or McDonald's whistle, or holidays are coming. In and of themselves, they can be a bit annoying, but really they're just a little bit of personal branding. This one was a Dallas radio imaging company, which funnily enough, I licensed them to use on a different show, not this. But that one didn't really get off the ground, so I nabbed them back and used them ourselves. Anyway, Chris, thank you. Dennis Skyham. Hi, gents. Any tips on resources for discovering great photos? I simply don't have the patience to wade through ads and beauty bloggers and celebrities on Instagram, so I'm wondering if you know of any curated sites or blogs where someone has already done the hard work of trying to sort the wheat from the chaff. I do enjoy sites like DP Review on the hardware side of things, but I'm looking for something that's a tad more focused on the work, not the tools. Best, from Dennis. Any that you use, Kev? I mean, I know there's Kage, which you're a member of. Lens Culture, lensculture.com. That's really, really good.
I mean, I just go off and search and look, and often you get sent links and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of... I'm going to go off on a little side tangent here well now. I absolutely hate it when you go to websites and this is all to do with GDPR. You go to a website and the first thing it does is pop up and say, are you okay for us to store your cookies and blah, blah, blah. I absolutely hate that. And talking of SEO, back in the day, that was one of the things that was the worst thing you could possibly do, have pop-ups all the time. And now we've gone back to having pop-ups.
Yeah, I know.
And any website, photography or not, that has a big pop-up that says, are you okay for us to store your content? I immediately just shut my computer off and go and have a beer.
Okay. It just sounds like an excuse, Kev.
Yeah, it is. But no, I mean, it's hard to... There are lots and lots of highly curated websites out there. I can't really think too many off the top of my head, but things like the Magnum Foundation website is a good starting point.
Oh, yeah. What about the Seven agency site?
Yes, Seven. There's lots. I mean, there's lots. It's impossible. If I go to what I'm going to do now, just very briefly, is go to my bookmarks. What have I got here? Photography. So in my photography folder, I've got marketing, weddings, sports, equine, forums, galleries, and inspiration. Let's have a look at that. Galleries and inspiration.
It's very similar to the way I have it. I have favourite inspirational wedding photographers or favourite inspirational photojournalists, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Mind you, I realise I haven't looked at this for a very long time.
I store loads of stuff, then never go back and look at it.
Yeah, I typically use...
I just want it to be there if I need it.
Lists and stuff now.
Yeah,
I mean, no, there's nothing useful on there. I would, it's hard, isn't it? There's loads out there. Just go for it.
But I'd certainly go. I'd certainly go look at Seven. I'd certainly go look at Magnum. Those two straight out the traps. I'd go look at those two. I can spend hours looking at those two.
You'll also find a lot on things like the Guardian and New York Times and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of good stories on there. I think there was one on New York Times we were sent on the weekend by Paolo Pellegrin. Who's normally a photographing wars, and he put these beautiful pictures of his family that he's been photographing instead. However, that was behind a paywall.
It was, yeah. You had to undo your ad blocker and all sorts of stuff, didn't you? Which was a shame about that one. But Tommy Wessel, a lens. Are you ready for a lens science question? Is it too warm for a lens science question? Because it's boiling, it's baking in the UK today as we're recording this. Do lenses have sweet spots? For now, I have a Nikon D90 APS-C camera. Old, I know, he says in brackets. And I have two lenses, the 18-105 and the 70-300. If I were to take a photo at a focal length of, say, 100mm on each lens, could I expect similar results, or all other settings being equal? In other words, 100mm is near the edge of the 18-105's range, whereas 100 is not at all near the edge of the 70-300's range. Do lenses have sweet spots? Would you choose to use one or the other lens if you wanted a shot at 100mm? Now, we've talked about sweet spots before, and of course they do. They do have sweet spots, don't they?
I think so, yeah. And I'm not sure it's to do with the focal length. I could well be very wrong about that. But yeah, certain lenses are sharper at, let's just say, f4 or f1.8 or whatever.
It's aperture driven, isn't it, really?
I think so. But also it's down to the quality of the glass, the amount of elements, all of that stuff. Yeah. Fujifilm, for example, their glass is made from a specific source of water, because obviously these glasses are made for the lenses are made from water. Essentially, it's where it comes from. Yeah. They have a certain source that is I've seen the kind of stuff in the Fujifilm Museum about it, and it's like this crystal clear reservoir somewhere or other.
Is it a special secret at all? No, nobody discusses where the water comes from. Bit like
I don't think it's a secret.
Oh, right. I wondered it was a bit like KFC special recipe for a minute or something.
No, I don't think so. But those things exist, and the cheaper the lens, the cheaper the glass they use, probably, and so the more softer it will be. Normally, they're softer at the edges rather than in the middle, and wider lenses, kind of fisheye lenses, tend to have more barreling and distortion and softness on the edges, of course. So yeah, I don't think it's aperture, but I don't think it's kind of focal length based. I think it's basically just quality. So some of those Canon lenses we used to use were remarkably sharp.
All the way through. Yeah, I think the 50mm in particular, the L series lens was an incredible lens for that. He did have another bit. Did Tom said, Kev, I wish we had more rugby in the States. I studied abroad in New Zealand, came to love the game. What is it about rugby players that makes them tough as nails men? So off the field as well. I mean, you beat the living daylights out of each other. Then you'd go and drink a few pints afterwards. And that's the way rugby is, though, isn't it? Was it always like that with you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we beat the living daylights out of each other. It's sport. You do have the occasional handbags, but yeah, no, it's a great sport. Yeah. And you're right, though. You do have there's a very big mutual respect. There's definitely a thing about the rugby family, and
totally different to football.
People look after each other for sure, and no matter what happens on the pitch, you never take it off the pitch.
Do you know the name Carl Hoft?
He's an All Black, I think.
Yeah, he said I met a rugby player, Carl Hoft, a former All Black in New Zealand, when I was lost, and he gave me a ride from the gas station. I had no idea who he was. He told me to tell my Kiwi friends who I'd just met, and they lost their minds when I did. It was like I met Michael Jordan or something. Such a nice man. And I think that's rugby players through and through, isn't it? Right, we've got time for one more question.
And I have one question I need to ask at the end as well.
Oh, dear. Right, okay. Stand by. Steve McAvoy. Hey guys, I'm just an enthusiastic photographer. Steve, you're never just. You are an enthusiastic photographer. Always been interested, but now I'm reading and learning everything I can about the subject. I've joined the Fuji owners with an XE3 and an 1855 kit. Prior to that, I borrowed a Canon 10D from a friend who'd been shooting manual. Otherwise, it's the iPhone. So, to the question. Through my life, many creatives I've encountered are, you'll love this question, lefties, i.e. dominant left hand. I've always found this an interesting topic to discuss with somebody, as I too am lefty, which normally makes other parts of your body lefty dominant too, so left-footed, left eye. Fuji, like most of the consumer manufacturers out there, really only build for right-handers. Are either of you lefties? Do you struggle with right-handed cameras or products? Well, I'm not a lefty, no. And I know you're not either, are you?
No, I'm not. I know it's a thing though. There was an advert, wasn't there? I think it was Specsavers or something. There was an advert, and it was a guy taking a photograph, and he was using a left-handed camera, but actually they just reversed the picture. They just kind of reversed the picture. But yeah, I don't know any left-handed cameras. I guess you just get used to it.
The left-handed camera, you'd want the trigger button, the shutter button on the left-hand side, wouldn't you?
I suppose it's a little bit like the same as driving a car, isn't it? You have left-hand side drives and right-hand side drives, and you just absolutely get used to it. I change the gear stick with my left hand, whereas if I'm in a left-hand side car drive, I have to change it with the other one. I don't know. It's just like what you get used to.
I know, because when you've never driven on the other side of the road, depending upon the country you come from, whether it's Japan drive on the left, don't they, like we do, and Australia certainly do, and New Zealand do. But when you swap to the other side, everybody seems to think that the first thing you're going to do every time you want to change gear, you're going to be making the electric windows go up and down or something.
Yeah.
No, I've not found that. No. Anyway, Steve did put his Instagram address. It's great when you do this because it's nice to promote you. At SteveMC_ME on Instagram. Go check his work out. Thank you, Steve. Right, that's it.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Oh no! You even had to cough to get ready for it.
Well, it's quite a big thing, actually.
Is it?
Fairness.
Oh no! Uh-oh. Yeah, go on.
You know that, and you have no idea this is happening. So this could go one of two ways.
Oh God!
I'm a member of the Collective.
Yes, I do. We mentioned them a moment ago.
Patrick, Jonas Bask, the rest of the gang.
Love Patrick, don't we?
Robert Cato, Derek Clark.
I know.
Your new best friend. Well, I've been speaking to them for a while, and we've come to a collective opportunity to invite you as a member of the Kage Collective.
My word. I wasn't expecting this question at all.
Well, I wasn't expecting to ask you, actually.
Could you
on the chat system with them.
Are you on the chat system now with them?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Right, okay.
I'll just read to you the last few moments.
Right.
So, where do we go? Blah, 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 blah. Bert said, if we add him, Kevin should ask him while recording on their podcast.
Oh, thanks, Bert.
This was at 2:16 p.m. Patrick said, fun idea. And then he goes on to say, live. And then if he says no, what do we do then? Patrick says, but let's live dangerously. And I said, okay, I'm going in. And that was the last thing I typed. And then Rob said, can you edit it out if he says no?
I'm very flattered. But I've always felt that I just shoot weddings.
Well, you don't. So that's an argument for another day. But however, we are I am formally inviting you on behalf of the Kage Collective to be a member, and you do not have to say yes or no right now, of course. Although we would prefer it if you did.
I'm wondering if I get the chance to say yes or no on tomorrow's show, which gives it a little bit of drama, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, that's true. But for those of you that don't know the collective, which I'm sure most of you
should,
do,
should talk
Patrick
about
LaRocque, Derek Clark, Robert Cato, Vincent Baldensberger.
Vincent's my newfound photo love. I think I've got a crush on him and his work.
Myself, Jonas Rask, and Dominic Shaw. And we used to have Charlene and Fleming Bo Jensen as well, who have moved on. But so there, the opportunity is there.
Well, I tell you one thing it will make me do. It'll make me go and photograph other things apart from when I have pound notes passing in front of me, because that's always been something that I think I'm very aware of. That I make a lot of work, a prolific amount of work when I'm being paid, and not so much at other times.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the good thing about a collective like this, and not just ours, but all the others that are out there, is that it's actually about encouragement. We have we've a whole offline kind of system where we encourage each other to go and shoot, and we talk about stories and what we're going to do, and it's very theme based, but it's not an overloaded system.
Well, I'm a fan of Kage because you know that because I often talk about it and mention it. So the answer is definitely yes.
Right. Cool. I'm just going to type back into the box. He said
the man from Del Monte. He say yes. Oh dear. What did they say? What's the first one that popped up? Said, "Oh no." I thought he'd say no.
No, it's all good. So don't forget, they're all in different parts of the world.
Yeah, they are. Of course, they are. Yeah. Well, I'm very flattered. I'm very flattered to have been asked. So thank you, Kev.
Good. Well done. Welcome to the fold.
Well, thank you. Do I get knighted or anything?
It's your turn to do the project tomorrow.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. Yeah. Right, well that's it for another day. On that note, which is I've gone all red. If you could see me now, I'm blushing. I am. Thank you very much. It's a great honour, real great privilege. So thank you, Kev, because I've always considered that's your domain and not mine at all. Merci beaucoup. I'll say that because my new French friend will like that. See you tomorrow then, Kev.
Yep. Bye bye.
The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.